please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our April 23rd Tiverton School Committee meeting. At least that's where I think I am.
You are. Ireland's gone.
Thank you.
It's in the past.
Is there anyone signed up for open forum?
No.
Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would like to pull off 6E.
I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I'll make a motion for the remaining consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Dr. Sanquioni?
No personnel actions report this evening.
Okay. Correspondence?
6E. That would be me.
Okay.
So I pulled off the contract continuation because this committee has been pretty vocal for a number of years that we felt that this really wasn't in the best interests of the district. And I am disappointed to report that it passed overwhelmingly in the House today. So I just sort of wanted to reiterate that, you know, we have been very consistent saying that we don't believe that this is in the best interests of the district or, you know, our task at hand. It seems it's destined for approval, but I certainly did want to just reiterate that, you know, we've been pretty consistent for at least the number of years that I've been on here saying that this wasn't, you know, this is not something that is, in our belief, good for the district. That's it.
I agree. It still needs to go to the Senate, where I expect it will pass. Last time it passed, actually, the legislature, and it was vetoed by the governor. She hasn't really indicated what she's going to
She
do.
indicated today she will sign it.
Really? Did she say why?
You'd have to ask her.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there we are.
Oh, yeah. I guess.
I agree with you. I think, you know, sort of
too
our
bad.
duty is to the students, to the families, to the district and the town as a whole. And this does not help us
Yeah.
fulfill any of those duties.
And we've been pretty vocal about that to our
Yeah.
legislators, that we felt that way, but
Yep. Yep. Yep.
clearly a disagreement.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion on the remainder of the correspondence? Okay. Old business discussion of the budget history FY20 budget. Dr. Sanquioni, anything to report?
I do. In your packet, I provided you, and I want to pay a commendation to the town assessor, David Robert. When I was asking him to get a better understanding of revenue available to the town and the tax implications of budgets and so forth, he produced a document that you have in your packet that shows the impact on the budget that was voted by the Budget Committee. And if you sort of follow it down at the bottom, it shows you the difference in taxes based upon a $300,000 home. And so obviously that, you know, it's favorable in a lot of aspects, other than that budget is $500,000 less than what we requested. And I was able to use his chart today, and I'm going to pass this one out to you, where I plugged in the budget number for our budget that was requested. And again, you can track it the same way. What his spreadsheet does is it just takes in that number and recalculates the revenue needed to fund the budgets. And so in this scenario here, again, you look down at the bottom for a $300,000 home, you see that there's still a significant savings in taxes based upon a $300,000 home. So I thought that was just interesting. You, again, as you've heard me say at the Budget Committee, I always felt our budget request was a win-win. It was a reduction in taxes, it was funding the schools at an appropriate level, it was providing capital for both the town and the schools and so forth. So you have a couple scenarios here to look at. I received today the numbers on the petitioner's budget, and so I'm going to do the same analysis there, but literally I received those numbers around 3 o'clock today. So at our next meeting, I'll be able to give you a full presentation on that, how it affects, if that budget was approved, how that would impact our request, where we would, in essence, how we would use that revenue to fund what we hope to do.
So the Budget Committee budget is a $505,000 cut from what, reduction from what we asked?
Correct, yes. You can look at the numbers in the yellow box. You can see
yeah.
the difference between the two. The sheet, I believe, actually, the sheet you just received doesn't have the yellow box, but it's the second number down.
I'm not seeing it either.
I'm not seeing any kind of, I know what it is, only because I know it, but I'm
Right.
not seeing it on this number, on this sheet anywhere.
So on the original document,
The sheet you just gave us
Okay.
has the
Budget.
original, our
our
original
request,
The one we have in our packet is the request that was approved.
right, it's the second number down.
Oh, the 31,442,700
Oh.
versus 31,947,720. I got you. I
was looking for
the
500, yeah,
actual
so was I.
amount on
Okay,
the
all
piece
right,
of paper.
all right,
Gotcha.
So
okay.
This is a great algorithm that he created. Again, I want to thank him for trying to make the revenue easily understandable for everybody.
So I believe the Board of Assessors is meeting on Thursday at 5:30. Is that,
Board of Canvassers?
or, sorry, Board of Canvassers. That's correct. And
From what I've heard.
they usually only meet once, although they had a marathon meeting that they continued for about 3 weeks a couple of years ago. So there are, sorry, go ahead.
I believe when I was listening to the council meeting last night, they have two scheduled, one for Thursday, one for Friday.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thursday is the first one.
Okay,
Maybe they're planning on a marathon.
yeah.
I do have, when we get to that point, I do have a question. I don't know, Vicki, if you had a chance to look at what I sent you today. Probably not. It was sent really late in the afternoon. I don't know if.
I think the time is now. I think the time is now if you want to talk about that.
Yep. If you look at the actual language of the, that we're going to vote on. So if you look at the language of the appropriation, we shall appropriate to schools, we shall appropriate to, that number in that budget committee, in the budget committee docket, that is only the operating budget. That does not include the capital of $316,000 that they voted on.
That's separate.
That is not anywhere on there. It's buried in a municipal number. So my concern and my question and my belief is we cannot, they effectively, whether it was an error or not, have cut the $316,000 of capital because that line item says school
appropriate it.
operations and capital.
Expense, this is all you're getting.
And this is all you're getting for both those things. So the fact that a mathematical error or clerical error was made means we are not getting my capital, and that was my question.
So if
Yes,
they
you agree.
did that,
That's obviously, yeah, where that argument could definitely be made. But yeah, this is what we gave you.
Yeah.
At the,
Because you got to remember, we're not voting on a docket. We're not voting line by line. All people see when they go in is this
well,
wording.
more significantly, if they did that, they went against the vote they
did.
took in an open meeting. That is the only actually action that they took. So they actually did not form their budget correct, or they did not form their ballot or their docket
Well,
properly.
so that's my question, I guess, to Vicki and Stephen. Is there any kind of can we go to the Board of Canvassers meeting and protest that and say, that's not correct? That's going to effectively cut the budget committees. And I by no means am okay with the budget committees either. I mean, but
The budget committee, it's laid out, this is the budget committee's docket, this is what goes what goes first on the ballot, it's gotta be correct.
I mean, I guess that's because it's not right now.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
I
and they
don't-
don't have standing to revise it. They have to submit it by a certain date. It's very, the only thing that's actually clearly laid out in the charter is the dates. There's very little about the process itself and,
So the Board of Canvassers has no authority to say you need to, I guess they don't.
well, the Board of Canvassers can't, I would say they cannot correct it, nor can they actually approve it if it is not the vote that was taken by the Budget
That's
Committee.
my question, is
Well,
can we make the
So,
it
so,
wasn't this is not the budget committee's docket, this is not what they did. I don't see how, and just as they could point out irregularities in everybody else's submissions and keep them off the ballot. I
which
don't
they
see-
have done in the past.
Yes, I don't.
There is
the
precedent for
has
that.
And are doing again,
And
from
the
what I hear.
precedent- The precedent has been made. It's got to cut both ways.
So do we go to the Board of Canvassers and basically make that argument?
I think so, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I think we have to, because what they will be doing so if they approve that docket,
Well,
they'll do two things.
if they approve the ballot question.
Right,
They
right.
don't approve
Yeah,
the
yeah,
docket,
yeah,
they
yeah.
approve the ballot question.
If they approve the ballot question, they will do two things. They will be approving something which was not submitted to them by the Budget Committee by its vote, but rather, an error. And they will be putting forward a ballot question that does not appropriate $300,000 to the schools that the Budget Committee approved, but rather appropriates it to the town, and then it's fungible within the town's funds. So we would have to, it would be relying on the goodwill, which I don't
Well,
doubt.
you can't.
No, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, is that
The
they will.
the town council can't just decide to move municipal funds to the school committees because they feel like it. I mean,
Well,
imagine the precedent.
right,
There's
exactly.
a reason we have a vote.
Right.
That says the appropriation shall be.
Right. Well, and it can't go the other way, that
Because
you
again,
can't.
we're not voting on a docket.
Right.
We're voting on a number, and that
And then
number
they-
currently says.
And so if they have submitted an improper ballot question,
We should challenge it.
we should challenge it, because it's actually cutting us by $300,000
Yes, it is.
from what was already a sort of diminished amount from our request. And then they fall into a black hole.
Yeah,
Because
you're submitting before the
there
voters
is
something that was not.
I don't think in the charter there is any sort of accounting for what happens if you didn't follow the process properly, and you still have to have a budget election, and
I don't know, but
Yeah.
I think Vicki's
Well,
right.
that's what I mean,
We
they
have
fall
to
into a
at
black
least-
hole.
We have to challenge it because it's not,
Yeah.
you have a number for operations and capital that is less than what the budget committee's elected body actually approved.
right.
All right.
And I'm looking at these meeting minutes and what the vote was, and it's plain as day. They had one budget total of this, and then they went to, the school committee budget, then they went to school committee capital. So
Right.
the intention is that.
No,
it's
they were very
fiscal.
specific votes, right. So you can be there on Thursday at 5:30,
Absolutely.
Mrs. Bema?
I most certainly
I
can.
would encourage any,
I did send you too, I don't know, and again, I know I sent it to you late. The last time, because remember, our capital hasn't been on the docket for quite some time. Our capital has been funded through our own fund balance for like
Right.
more than 5 years, for years. So the last time we had our capital, if you notice, on the docket, and you look at that appropriation line, Vicki, it did include capital, as it should, because the line says to appropriate for school operations and capital. So the only thing, so if you look to what we've done in the past, the last time we had it on the docket, it included both numbers as we would imagine that it should. So,
Yes, I'm just looking through
Yeah.
through these past histories that you've been very,
Sorry.
very helpfully supplied to me. Yes.
all right, so you're able to go. So that's an issue, and I don't know how it's going to be resolved or what's going to happen, but
Yeah.
it's clearly, that was not, I don't know how we got from one to the other, but it is what it is, and now we need to bring it to someone's attention that,
This is an illegal budget and therefore cannot be on the ballot.
I don't know what they're going to do. It certainly is in conflict
Other
with their
illegal
vote.
budgets.
And right, Jerry, I know that, what the case is, well, it's in the detail, and we can just, no, you can't just move it to
No,
you.
I'm, right. No,
Because if
I
I'm a
don't think-
taxpayer and I go in and I vote on a line item that says you only get, 31,447,000 for operations and capital, no one has the authority, no council, no treasurer, no anyone, to just say, well, we're going to give you more.
There's no provision in.
There's no provision to let that happen.
Yes, you are correct. There's no provision that, sitting here again, that I've looked at,
That's your appropriation.
yeah, that's your appropriation and the town can't just throw you more money.
All right, well, we will see how Thursday goes then. Thursday at 5:30?
Yes.
And there was one petitioner's budget as well?
Yes.
Did they sort of certify the signatures and that's going before the Board of Canvassers as well?
Yes.
Anybody know? Okay.
Dr. Larkin,
Yes, Mrs. Black?
the petitioner's budget got all its signatures correctly.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
last night, the town solicitor mentioned that there was a problem with that one, and that was going to be discussed Thursday night at 5:30.
Okay.
Okay? So he never mentioned what it was or any detail, he just said...
Did he happen to mention the problem with the Budget Committee's budget?
No, no. He
Okay.
in fact, he's just said there's a problem with one of the budgets. He didn't mention which one. And then one of the counselors said, would that be the petitioner's budget? And he said yes, and that's all he said.
Why is the solicitor involved in the budget process
I'm
at this
just
point?
letting you know what happened last night.
No, I'm
I
just-
come to report.
He said
It
someone...
is a rhetorical and yet
Come to report.
appropriate question.
So now I just want to say to everyone, I did bring the budget history here because I want everyone to know this isn't new. A lot of people think this is a new thing that's happening. So I have minutes here from 2009, okay? Mr. Justin Katz's motion duly seconded it to amend the main appropriation, which is on that sign over there that says support the Budget Committee's budget. They had voted on it, the schools agreed to it, everyone agreed to it. We carried that sign all around the town, so everyone said, we're all together. That was the best thing. If we all agreed, that was the best scenario every year. So that's what happened. So Justin amended that budget. I don't need to read the numbers. He separated local from state aid, and you can't do that either. Town solicitor raised a point of order. That requested number was less than last year. State law requires school appropriation to be less, as the same as the preceding year. We all know that rule. The interesting thing is, this happened in real time. Someone made a motion, they were told it wasn't legal, so they could change it that day. They could change it and make it right. And we can't do that anymore, because this has all been voted on, the deadlines have gone by, and during the charter review thing, we said, have the public hearing before you print the docket, because what if there's a mistake? Once everything's printed, we can't change it, and it's happening again. We're finding things possibly that aren't right, that could have been resolved, and then the citizens of Tiverton would have had the right to come out and vote on a budget. That's all we're asking. If the people of Tiverton say no to the petitioner's budget, which is supportive of the schools in the town, that's what they say. But the fact that they can't even vote possibly again, like happened last time, that's why I have that sign, no voice, no vote. I don't want to have to use that sign again. So let's hope that we can resolve this, because this just isn't right when the people, everyone works so hard all winter. Dr. Sanchioni came with his numbers, we all went through it 100 times, the 7%, look at it again, let's scrub the budget, what don't you need, what can you put off, everything else. We said, we'll put the capital in this year. They asked us to take it out before, it was like 2011. I have a budget here from the first FTR, the first famous FTR, Mr. David Nelson. This is his budget. And it says, appropriate a sum for school department, general operating, and capital expenses. And this is what he did. He took the budget committee's budget, and he just circled things all over the place. He circled every page. And I have another one here, too. I have another one that's even worse. So don't be telling me, after we worked so hard, and everyone worked on those numbers, and was so transparent and genuine, that ours can't go through. Because these others went through, no one ever said anything. Everyone came and voted. If you remember at the town meeting, he didn't say anything. He wouldn't describe what was going to be cut. He wouldn't answer any questions. So his budget failed because people didn't like that. They didn't know what was going on. We have been so careful, and the town all winter with the fire department and the rescue, and telling why we need things, and please support this. I'm not asking to support any budget. I'm just saying we need to vote, and everyone knows what we need. And I hope this all works out on Thursday, and I hope everyone will come and send your voice up, because this can't happen again, and have no school. no
Right. I
budget
mean,
on.
the whole point of the FTR was everybody's going to have access to their government. Everybody's going to have access through 50 signatures.
Except when they can't.
Except when we don't agree with you, apparently. Then you don't get access to the ballot. So that's unfortunate that there's this, because it was very, I was on that original FTM changes committee, and it was very purposeful that we did not have a gatekeeper. There was no one to say, this one's good, this one's not, this one's,
Yes.
so to see a solicitor inserting himself in that process where the charter does not allow for it is really, it's distressing, to say the least.
Well,
So-
and there is, again, one of the things we asked the Charter Review Commission to do last summer was to clarify that whole process. Unfortunately, they chose not to do that. But having sort of sadly read that paragraph many, many times, there is no mechanism for the solicitor to insert him or herself. There is no mechanism for a charter complaint against a petitioner's budget. It's supposed to be very open-ended. At least the plain meaning of the language would support that. So it's unfortunate that people decide that because they disagree with someone, they do not want to have
Well,
them
certainly the
access to the ballot.
FTR has made lawyers lots of money,
Yeah.
so.
In fact, when they constructed it, they said the petitioner did not even have to come to the public hearing,
Right.
because they might not be comfortable to defend their numbers and everything else. So that person that puts in the budget with the 50 signatures doesn't even have to show up. They don't have to answer anything. That's the way they wanted it, and that's the way they said.
And honestly, I don't even know there's a mechanism for us to correct the budget committee. It may just be what it is. It's wrong, and it just goes. So I don't know. I mean, because there's really not a mechanism in place to fix things or correct things, or I don't know. I don't know what the.
Well, but if they, I mean, it's not a conflict of laws, but they haven't followed the process, so it's,
I don't
fruit
know.
of the poison tree, tainted tree, is that what the term is, Vicki?
Fruit of the poison tree.
Right. So it's not valid. Anyway.
Okay.
All right, stay tuned. Thursday at 5:30. Any other discussion of the budget history? Or FY budget? Okay. On to new business, discussion of policy 1231, policy 1021, and policy 452, fundraising.
Are our peeps here?
Anyone from Fort Barton here? It was actually a request, I think, from the Fort Barton PTO.
Oh, they're not here? I'll jump in.
Okay.
I spoke to a couple of them. Dave's not here? No? Because there was some confusion, basically there's confusion in the policy, correct, Peter? I mean, yeah.
Policy 1231, second paragraph is probably one you want to turn your attention to. Probably needs some clarity, because it applies to Fort Barton as one example, but there's other examples that have the same treatment.
So there basically was a fundraiser approved that was a private fundraiser, and there was some confusion about whether that is or isn't allowed and what is or isn't allowed. And I know when we originally wrote that, I think Carol and I were on that policy committee, when we originally wrote that policy, the intent was to sort of limit the PTOs to fundraisers that were just school-specific. But
This is 1231, or
there's two, there's
No, I know.
1231 and there's
which one are you talking about?
just in general,
Oh,
both of
okay.
them. And then to allow, but we still wanted to allow the buildings to have hoop for heart types of things that the staff wanted to do. So we were trying to allow for both those things, and I'm not sure that the language was clear in allowing that. So I think it probably needs to go back to the policy subcommittee for some more work.
I think also
Okay.
if, and I agree
How
with
about
you
it?
on that, and perhaps maybe we can invite them
Oh, yeah,
to
that'd
join
be
us
great.
as we go through the nitty-gritty of the policies.
Okay. Do we need a vote for that?
No,
or we
yeah, we just
sort of
need to know we have to do
Revert back to
it.
the policy subcommittee for revision and discussion?
But no, that's a good point, Diane. Let's make sure they're there so that we can kind of have everybody, people that have to live with the policy, it's helpful to have you there talking about it.
Our next regular meeting isn't until May 14th, so perhaps we can find some time in the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. Dan, did you have anything to offer about that? Oh, okay. It's fascinating, isn't it? Good way to go to sleep is to read policy.
The best intentions. Sometimes it's like so many words that you actually make it worse than if you would have had less words. So, certainly, it wasn't as clear as obviously as everyone intended it to be, so.
All right. Any other discussion about that? Okay. Item 10B, permission to purchase playground equipment by PTO. Mr. Cabral. No?
Did you get a packet? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you received the packet?
Yeah.
So what the PTO is looking to do is to make our grade 1 through 4 playground area larger. Right now, they've got some money put aside, and our next fundraiser, the Colothon, is where the majority of the money's gonna come for this. Depending on how successful we are with that fundraiser, will depend on what selection we take. We're just seeking approval to expand the playground.
I guess the question was, do you have to go out to bid if do you know how much money you're talking about?
Yeah,
It's in the packet.
it's like 13,
Right.
14,000.
Okay.
13-4.
So you probably have to go out to bid on that? Was that your plan?
this
I
was
don't know, do you?
If the PTO is financing it.
Oh, if it's PTO. All right.
Almost 14,000.
Huh?
Almost 14.
If that's a question.
I'm asking a question, not sort of making a statement, I guess.
I don't really know how many companies actually provide this kind of equipment.
Uh-huh.
But if we could go, if you want us to go out to bid, we'll look to see how many companies provide this, once we get the money for this.
Or does the PTO just purchase the stuff and just donate it to us, and then
Right.
that's fine, we'll do it that way.
Yeah,
And we just accept the donation of the equipment,
Of the equipment.
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so I think because it's not technically the school department that's expending the money,
Agree.
you don't have to go out to bid, you can
Agreed.
do whatever you want. Okay,
however, we would want to make sure that the school department is overseeing the project.
Correct.
right, we still have to accept the donation.
For safety.
Right,
All right. So do we need to vote now, or we need to vote when they actually do what they are gonna do?
We'd like to get permission to go forward.
Okay.
If we raise the money.
All right.
Can I make that motion?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, and thank the PTO for doing
Thank you
that.
very much.
Ranger PTO has a strong history of powerful leadership. Wasn't going to mention any names. All right, where are we?
Announcement?
Announcements, scheduled meeting
Scheduled meetings.
reports. So our next meetings are the 14th and the 28th.
When's the FTR?
20th.
20th.
I think it's the
20th?
20th, or is it the 18th?
No, it's the 18th.
I thought it was the 18th.
Is
The
it
18th.
It's a
I read
Saturday.
It's a
that
Saturday.
in some report.
And it's, the last day was 28 days before, and the last day was the 20th to submit a petitioner's budget, so it's the 18th.
It's the 18th, yep, okay. So we will have one more meeting.
It's frightening to know those numbers. Okay.
'Cause I think we, on that 14th, could we just make sure that we have an agenda item for us to take a position on, assuming we have two, to support a budget as a body?
Okay.
So just a budget discussion.
All right. So executive session. I'm going to ask for a motion to enter executive session under Rhode Island General Laws 42465A 1, 2, and 3 regarding performance, character, physical or mental health, Director of Finance, legal advice, Director of Finance and Administration, employment contract, job performance, physical or mental health or character, Director of Finance and Administration applicant, school security issues, and legal advice, teacher termination.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Yes?
Okay.